authority to protect our investment. We ourselves have invested over $1 million in our efforts to attract a world-class FBO. As I said, we put in $700,000 into the pilot center. We put about $300,000 into getting a new fuel farm out there. We spent about $225,000 on 2 new fuel tanks, another $45,000 on digging up one of Martha's old tanks and putting it out there, another $90,000 or another $45,000 on getting electricity to the fuel farm. So it all adds up. We put in a lot of money, and we protect that investment by requiring a new full-service FBO to invest a significant amount of money to start operations on the airport. Now, it's important to realize this does not exclude anybody. If another FBO wants to come onto our airport and start providing full services, they can do that. But to do that, they have to meet the investment requirements. The reason we require that is so we know that a new FBO who wanted to do this would be able to do the proper servicing. At the same time, we do want to attract certain kinds of SASOs that we've identified, such as aircraft maintenance. And so with Garza Aviation, we brought them in with a different kind of lease. They had no investment requirement, and we subsidized their rent to the fact that it started at zero. The reason is because we've learned that if we don't do this properly, we can get in trouble with our big industrial customers that are coming in here. If we don't take care of them, we can chase them away. A good example of that would be Omega Tanker. Back when Lux Air was here, the Omega Tanker came in, which would be hugely profitable for the airport and for the community, and they were not able to properly take care of that customer because they didn't have the equipment. So we want to make sure of that. By doing this, we have now learned that a properly invested FBO will pay for itself. It's good for the airport and it's good for the community. For example, Millionaire pays the airport $15,000 a month in rent, and last month paid us $43,000 in fuel flowage. In contrast to that, with Garza Aviation, we waived $6,000 a month in fees. They had to borrow equipment from CSI, and they are not returning any income from that operation to the airport. Our concern is that now Garza Aviation is trying to encroach on our business model and Millionaire's business model, in which we have literally invested millions of dollars. So that's the concern. So our lease is designed to protect the airport. We have verified that it's compliant with all of the FAA policies, and we enforce the lease. So again, back here to the timeline, in June of this year, CSI contacted the airport with a request that we provide ground services. We didn't have the full picture on this. It was presented to us as, if you're not able to help us out, we're going to have to pull our business from here. Because they provide service to Homeland Security, who's very important to us, we worked to come up with an arrangement that would satisfy them. And so what we did is we contracted with Millionaire and put together a deal wherein they agreed to buy a minimum amount of gas, 1,200 gallons a night, and they also did the turn service for CSI.
1,200 gallons a week?
No, yeah. As soon as we got into this, it became suddenly clear to us that CSI was in fact trying to just get cheaper prices. They didn't buy the gas that they promised that they would buy, and so we terminated that contract with them and told them to go back to Millionaire. Okay.
Can I ask what kind of service they need? What is a turn service? Everybody knows what we're talking about.
Good question. To turn an aircraft, in jargon, what that means is an aircraft comes in, you want to marshal the aircraft in, you want to chock it, you want to put power on the aircraft. You want to post a fire guard during startup, and then you have their, a fire guard when they start engines, and then you marshal them out. Okay, that's your basic ground service.
Pretty much the same as an airline would go through?
Exactly, exactly. And those are the services that Millionaire had been providing to CSI up to that point. Okay, so then CSI, in an effort, again, to avoid paying the standard ground handling fee to Millionaire, and because they didn't want to buy fuel, this is a lot of this piece of speculation, but I'm assuming what they did is contacted Garza Aviation and asked them for support, which Garza Aviation said that they would do. Yes, sir.
Is there an additional requirement that aircraft be approved by maintenance and mechanic to be released for the next?
No, there's not. Up until that time, CSI had been coming in without any problems at all. There are post-flight, pre-flight requirements on an aircraft, but typically the pilot or the crew of the aircraft will provide those services. For example, when your average GA pilot goes out to fly, he does his own pre-flight, he does his own post-flight. The airliners that come in here every single day, if you watch out there, you'll see the pilot get off the aircraft, he'll walk around the aircraft, do his post-flight, and he'll walk around it again and do his pre-flight, or he'll do both at the same time. And so that is the inspection requirement that you're talking about. Now, if there is a maintenance requirement on the airplane, something breaks, well, then you have to have maintenance, a qualified maintenance person there to fix that. And you get into the Part 121 qualifications at that time as to who is authorized to fix it.
At some point, there may be a mechanic signature required for that
Right.
airplane to be dispatched to.
That's right. That's right. In other words,
just to be able to do that without a mechanic.
Yeah, just to give you a personal example, when I used to be a crew chief in the Air Force, okay, and I would be out there and I would marshal the airplane in, okay, so the airplane would pull in, and let's say he called in with a hydraulic problem, okay, I would marshal the airplane in there doing the ground handling. I'd bring it in, I'd chock it, I'd put power on the airplane, and make sure that the airplane was situated. And then in the meantime, there's a pickup truck sitting next to me with the maintenance guy, the hydraulic guy. Okay, and I'd look over at him and I'd say, okay, it's your airplane. So he would go in and perform his maintenance. He would sign off the maintenance discrepancy. He would sign that the airplane was ready to go back and fly again. And then when he was done, he would leave and the airplane's ready to go. I would go, okay, it's time to start up again. We start the engine and we marshal it out. Okay, so that's the difference between ground handling, your basic ground handling that an FBO would provide, and aircraft maintenance. So, to answer your question?
Well, basically, there would be a mechanic's requirement that they inspect or approve that flight for that craft for the next flight.
No, the maintenance guy, he would sign off the specific write-up. In other words, let's say there was an engine problem. An engine guy would come out and say, okay, that engine is good. I got to add oil, something like that.
In some operations that I've been involved in, you've had mechanics at every basic destination of the aircraft, so that if they do encounter issues, they can get them
That's true.
resolved.
In large military aircraft, you'll see that they'll have a pretty extensive crew on there to take care of some of those kinds of things.
Did this flight, and I'm not real familiar with the flight, did it ever come in with a mechanic with it? Or
Not as far as I know, but I don't know those kind of details. So anyway, CSI contacted Garza Aviation, gave them the same story that they gave me, and then Garza agreed to contract with them. After the first night, Millionaire, who thought they were going to be providing service, went out to the airplane, saw Garza, and filed a complaint with the airport, first by phone, followed up with a letter about Garza encroaching upon their business model. We received the complaint. We investigated very carefully, as you can imagine when you have a complaint between tenants. We confirmed with our attorney what this was all about. We went to Garza Aviation, spoke to the owner, confirmed what was going on, and then gave him a letter saying, this is beyond the scope of your lease, it's beyond your, the use of premises. It was a very detailed letter. We talked about the use of premises, and other